President Obama had said, look, this National Defense Authorization Act is coming up for approval again now, obviously in 2013, and it's got two huge problems in it. One is they wanted to make sure that the president cannot transfer any prisoners from Guantánamo Bay here to the U.S. where they could be brought to trial, etc. And he said that's unacceptable. And number two, there's a provision in there where the military can indefinitely detain U.S. citizens without a trial. Last time the president attached a signing statement saying, well, yes, the bill says that and you can do it. I personally, as president, will not do it. Now, that doesn't mean much because if it's part of the law, then the next president can do it, besides which I'm not sure I believe President Obama when he says, oh, I'll be strong, and if the military asks to detain a U.S. citizen without trial, I'll stand up to that. Doesn't have a great track record in that. Well, this time around, he said, I am issuing a veto threat. If they don't get rid of it, especially the Guantanamo provision, well, then I'm going to veto it. I hope you're sitting down. It turns out they didn't get rid of the Guantanamo provision, and he still didn't veto it. Really? Wow, Obama caving in like that, I just didn't see that coming. And his excuse was, well, if we do not approve the defense bill, the threats to the country are simply too great to ignore. Yeah. But you knew that before you issued the veto threat. It's not like the threats are new. They came over the last couple of days. You were never going to follow through on that veto threat because you never do. Because you don't care. Oh, wow, they break the obvious provisions of the United States Constitution, habeas corpus, etc. He doesn't care about that. Oh, there's detainees in Guantanamo, and I promise to shut Guantanamo down. Ooh. Wait, does this have anything to do with my donors? No? Okay, well, then let's just move on. And that's basically what's going on here. Now, Anthony Romero from the American Civil Liberties Union thinks that this is outrageous, of course. He says President Obama has utterly failed the first test of his second term, even before Inauguration Day. So progressives who cherish the ACLU, of course, only did so when they were going after Republican presidents. Now when they go after President Obama on things that are absolutely justified, the ACLU doesn't get a lot of press. There's not a lot of Democrats on television or progressives on television talking about this. Romero continues. His signature means indefinite detention without charge or trial, as well as the illegal military commissions, will be extended. Of course! Shahid Buttar, who's with the Bill of Rights Defense Committee, also adds on. He says it's the second time that the president has promised to veto a piece of very controversial national security legislation only to sign it. Of course, that's what he does. Defending the Bill of Rights. Come on, it's not like he was a constitutional law professor. Oh, right. Well, Shahid continues. He has a habit of promising resistance to national security initiatives that he ultimately ends up supporting and enabling. Gee, where have I seen that pattern before? Where the president says, well, if I don't get my way on taxes, well, I'll tell you what, I will not negotiate. Oh, fine, I'll negotiate and I'll give you almost everything you want. And of course, the same is true in the issue of civil liberties. Dixon Osborne, who's with the Human Rights First Law and Security Program, says, quote, it's not encouraging that the president continues to be willing to tie his own hands when it comes to closing Guantanamo. Once again, I think, and that would make it different than any other issue, that's what the president does all the time. Oh, did I give away my leverage in that fiscal cliff deal when the tax cuts were expiring? Oh, did I extend it, most of them anyway? Oh, I tied my hands. Oh, what can I do? Golly gee, I seem to have lost again. Funny how that keeps happening. I'm beginning to think that perhaps it's not an accident, that perhaps the president means to lose on policy, because he doesn't give a damn about that policy. All he cares about is his own political career. Now, the last time they had passed the National Defense Authorization Act, as Josh Gernstein in Politico, of all places, points out, the president had at least attached a tough signing statement saying he won't do these things. This time around, he left out the parts about working tirelessly to get these bad parts of the bill out. Now, he's not working as tirelessly. He's taking a little bit of a break. Now, he attached a statement where he says, well, look, there's a bunch of provisions on here that I will interpret differently, where he says if the country whose citizen we have detained indefinitely objects, well, we might pay heed to that if it's our own guys. and the state and local cops want to arrest them first, well, we might let them do that. Am I not merciful? But of course, we're free to ignore all of this because it's not in the law. What the law says is U.S. citizen or otherwise, on United States soil or otherwise, you can be detained by the military and never given a trial. By the way, they're not unclear on this. The Senate actually passed an amendment saying, hey, wait a minute, if a U.S. citizen is arrested on U.S. soil, well, of course he's got constitutional rights, right? Wrong. The House stripped that provision away from the Defense Authorization Act. The final bill they voted on did not have that provision, so yes, U.S. citizens can be arrested on U.S. soil and detained indefinitely without ever getting a trial. Have you ever heard anything more unconstitutional in your life? But the president, after issuing a veto threat, oh golly gee willikers, realized defense was so important that he just had to authorize all that spending and all those bills. And he says, no, Guantánamo, they were going to say that I could never bring them back. But don't worry, I got a provision in there that says that I just can't do it for a year. And then next year we'll do it all over again. And I'll issue another veto threat, and then I will withdraw that veto threat. I've seen this movie before, and it sucks.